everyone, Cobra here, and we're back on Grounded. So today I'm going to invite you all to join me as I dive into Grounded to see if I can figure out what the best weapon is that is currently available in the game. And I will explain to you exactly why, as well as the pros and cons of all of the contenders here. So in Grounded, players are always on the lookout for what is the best gear, the best weapons, because there's lots of difficult bugs that you're trying to get rid of. And, a good weapon could definitely be the difference between living and dying in a lot of different circumstances. Now, with weapons, there's a lot of different things to look at. There's different types of damage. There's slashing, there's elemental, there's piercing, there's, smashing, there's fresh, there's spicy, there's, all of these different things that you can get. Some of them are good against some things, some are good against others. Well, we're going to go ahead and explain to you. I've done a lot of experimenting with different ones, looking at the currently available toughest bugs in Grounded. I'm going to show you here what the actual best weapon, in my opinion, is. And once I reveal it to you, I want you guys to let me know in the chat if you agree or if you feel there is a different one that is even better. So, getting right into it. Currently available, other than the Wolf Bow, which I'm going to exclude from this solely because, when you're in a 1v1 fight with a bug, unless you're cheesing it up on top of something, you're going to need some sort of a close range or melee, and a bow, as much as it will do good at a distance, is not going to be the one that you're going to go to. So we're instead going to look at the melee weapons and the stabs. And currently available are 4 tier 3 melee weapons, as well as 2 different staffs that are available. And we're going to jump in, give you the pros and cons of each of those, and show you which one is the current best weapon. So here we have in my inventory the 6 weapons we're going to look at to compare for the best weapon here. Starting off, we have the Scorching Orb, which I'm going to be referring to as the Fire Staff because it is shooting spicy, which is basically the equivalent to fire in other games. There's the Glacial Sting Staff, which shoots out fresh, which is basically like an ice because it literally can freeze things. Those are going to be the only tier 2 weapons on this list, and that's just because they are stabs, they have magic damage, and can actually do area of effect. So we'll get into that a little bit later here. The other ones that make this list, there is the Mantis Blade, which is straight slash damage, but has the current highest base damage of all of these. There's the Ice Sickles, which are dual sickles. They have a high speed, and they deal fresh attacks with slash damage. We have the Wolfsbane Fangs, which are stab damage, a very high speed and high critical hit chance with venom. And then we have the Coaltana, which is still slashing like a lot of the others, but also does spicy. So these are going to be the weapons that we will be looking at here because these are the tier 3 and then the 2 stabs, which I feel like are better than the majority of the tier 2 weapons. So we'll go ahead and we will hop into them in depth, what is good, what is bad about the different weapons, and we're going to start off with the 2 stabs, get the tier 2 ones right out of the way. So the first weapon that we're going to be talking about today is going to be the Scorching Orb, aka the Fire Staff. Now, perks of this weapon are it can deal area of effect with its heavy attack. It has a longer range than the normal weapons. I mean, you can see I can hit all the way down there. I can potentially even hit that mite there. Oh, I went over it. Didn't expect that. But so you can see, obviously, I wouldn't be able to do that with a normal one. And then its charge attack is going to shoot this area of effect, which will do lots of sizzle damage. This can also deal damage over time, which can be really helpful. And then a lot of enemies, like spiders, are actually weak to spicy damage. So we're going to go in. I saw an Orb Weaver over here. Alright, so here is a full-size Orb Weaver. You can see it is weak to spicy damage, and I'm not going to use anything but this staff, so we're going to go in and we're going to You can see that charge attack does a good amount of damage. And of course my buggy, even though he was really far away, decided he was going to join in. So you can even parry with it. And one thing you'll notice is, I don't know if it's a bug or if it's actually a mechanic, but the shots from stabs do tend to almost home in as if it's, you know, impossible to miss. Now granted, of course you can miss if you're looking the wrong way entirely, but you saw, you know, they were all going straight at him even if I wasn't quite looking, which is another bonus. Now downsides to this, if you are getting swarmed, this can use a lot of stamina. You know, it's always best to use the mage gear if you're going to be doing that. However, in this case, you know, I'm using just normal gear here, the snail gear with a fuzzy helmet. Now, obviously it took down a spider pretty quick. Not everything is weak to spicy though, but this is a very solid tier 2 weapon. So the second weapon that we're going to be showcasing is going to be the Glacial Sting, aka the Ice Staff. Very similar in how it works to the Fire Staff, except it's going to deal fresh damage instead. So in this case, there's no way I'm hitting this with a charge attack, so I'm just going to hit it. We're going to fight a tier 3 Praying Mantis. Now, these are actually really easy to do this with, because you'll notice they'll get stuck. So I can just sit here and cheese him. Now, I don't necessarily... oh, crap. Don't necessarily feel like cheesing it, so I will go get it to come down in just a sec here. But I'm just going to finish this here first. Oh, man. These things are very mad at me, apparently. There is a whole army of them. Wow. So, it does definitely drain your stamina. But like I said, with the fire one, all you need is those mage armor, and then it will get you up. This one does not deal the most damage, although things too weak to fresh, it will do good damage, like you saw on the Mantis there. These, on the other hand, are resistant to fresh, which is why it's only denting their health. But you can still, you know, deal decent damage if you do it right. Okay. I think I finally cleared those out.
The texture is
Let's...
unpleasant.
Oh. Don't tell me this thing's mad at me. He's not. Okay. Let's resume our fight with the Praying Mantis here. If you walk under him, he will come down at you. Maybe? Normally. So, you can see, it's going to take a lot of hits, but other than a bow, that's the only other weapon you'd be able to do this with. Normally, he'll jump down and actually come fight us, and then, you know, I can show you that it's even possible to parry, but he's just sitting there. Now he's going to freeze and then shatter for a lot of damage. So, you can see on things that are weak to fresh, that buildup is actually not bad. So, that would be the Ice Staff there. Obviously, against scorpions, not a very good idea, but against the right things, such as stink bugs and praying mantises, you know, it can still be a good ranged and somewhat close weapon to use. Although, I'm going to say now, these stabs, while they are good, I don't think that they are the top weapon. But we're going to go next into looking at the Wolfsbane daggers. Okay, the next weapon we're going into is the Wolfsbane daggers. Now you'll see these are definitely rogue's build, very quick, similar to the Ice Sickles in its moveset and its speed. They deal stabbing and venom damage. We're going to try it out on this ladybug here. However, you'll see it is resistant to stabbing, but not to venom. So we'll go ahead and we will head right into battle with it. So, you can see the venom chipping away at its health already. So there's the venom there. So it actually does a good amount of venom damage. I'm trying to see. Oh, he can't even hit me. So, pretty good damage with how fast the actual thing is. So you can see just less than the ice sickles here. So almost 3 bars with a lot of speed and a very, very high critical chance. And then every attack will build up venom, which will then deal damage over time. So on things that are not that are not resistant to venom, this will chip away. And that ladybug was even resistant to pierce, which this deal, to stabbing, which this deals stabbing, and we still chipped away that fast. So these are a very solid weapon choice. The only downside to them is there's really no bugs that I'm aware of that are difficult, at least, that are weak to venom that are in the game. And then the stabbing, there's very few that are weak to stabbing, so it doesn't have a lot of advantage in that aspect, but overall a very solid weapon still. So now we're going to head over to the Ice Sickles. Another weapon that is very strong, the next one we're going to dive into is the Ice Sickles. This is one that is somewhat unique. Currently there are only 2 available to get. Oh, and apparently we're going to showcase it on a scorpion. So you can see it is very quick to attack. And can block pretty solid. This is not ideal because I do not have a gas mask with me. So you can see we melted through that stink bug really fast. That's because he's weak to both this stabbing. Actually, sorry, this is not stabbing. This is slashing. But it is weak to the fresh, and so it does lots of damage. This, on the other hand, is not weak to this whatsoever, because it's only weak to smashing, which is why you'll notice that it is not, completely chewing away, but it's still very, very solid. I only had to heal once during that entire fight. I don't even have a gas mask on, so ultimately these weapons are very good. And just to show you the stats here, we've got a solid 3 bars of damage. We've got really high speed. I believe the only thing that's tied with it out of these weapons is going to be the Wolfsbane Fangs. But the Wolfsbane Fangs are actually more critical damage, plus venom, and then a little bit less of these. So these are actually very versatile with their fresh and their slashing damage. This is one of my favorite weapons currently. So our next weapon is actually the Coaltana, which is a very solid weapon, and we're actually getting attacked by an orc wave, so we're just gonna be in the middle of battle as I explain this to you. This weapon is a 2-handed katana. It is very fun to use and deals both slashing and spicy damage. You can see it chips through things. It's got very high damage. The parry on it's pretty good. And against a lot of these, we'll just absolutely melt them, assuming I can reach them. So we absolutely tore through all of those there. And this is the Coaltana, currently one of the only weapons, actually I think the only weapon that is not a unique that you can only get one of currently. And damage wise, you can see there is more than 3 bars there. It is less speed than the Ice Sickles or the Wolfsbane Fangs. However, it's got slashing and it's got spicy with a sizzling attack, so it will build up and it will cause sizzle damage over time, and it has a lot more stun than these. Now, so it's got more damage and more stun is basically the advantage of it, with also more reach. Slower attack though, but the spicy is actually very beneficial because there are a lot of spiders in the game, and so far all of them are weak to spicy, as well as some other things. But that is the Coaltana. You just got to see it in use, and it also looks pretty dang awesome. So then we'll move on to our final one, which is going to be the Mantis Blade. The final weapon we're going to go over today is going to be... Oh, let me get my ants out of the way.
This is unbreathable. Whoop.
Oh, come back. Stupid ant.
Give young ones some independence.
Is going to be the Mantis Blade. Now, obviously I do not have a gas mask, so this is not a very good battle for me. But look at the sheer damage on this thing.
The texture is
This has the highest damage per hit of, I want to say, any weapon that's currently in game, and definitely any of the melee weapons. This is its damage at level 1, and I'll show you the stats of the weapon here. So you'll see it's just a straight slashing damage, which is one of the downfalls. However, it is 3.5, which is even higher than the spicy Coaltana, which has the next highest of all of these. The only reason the spicy staff is close is because this is upgraded a bunch. But this has the highest damage and the highest stun of any of these good melee weapons here. Now, downsides to it, it is slow and it does not have any sort of elemental bonuses, so it's just a straight slashing damage, which I guess depending on what you're fighting could be either good or bad. But now that I've shown you all of the different weapons that we're going to be deciding between, we're going to go ahead and we're going to give you the answer, and I want you to let me know in the comments down below, do you agree with this, or do you think that there is a different weapon that is actually better? Now that we've gone over and showed you all the weapons, we're going to jump into the actual question that you came here to see, and that is, what is the best weapon that is currently available? Now, we're taking into account a lot of different things here. We're taking into account the base stats as far as damage, speed, we're taking into the elemental types, and we're even going to take into account the different bugs that are currently available. So if you pull this up here, you're going to see the angry bugs section. So there are currently 2 level 3 enemies available that you'll see out in the world, which are the praying mantis nymph and the wolf spider. So the praying mantis nymph is weak to slashing and fresh, whereas the wolf spider is weak to spicy. So they're kind of the exact opposites there. Then there's the northern scorpions, which are weak to smashing, which is none of these on this list, but they are resistant to fresh and slashing. So those are going to be the main things you're going to run into. And then I guess the orb weavers as well. A lot of people don't like them. Weak to spicy, resistant to fresh, stabbing, and venom. Now, taking all of this into account and looking at what you see the most in the yard, I'm going to say that the best weapon that is currently available is going to be the Coaltana. Now, let me know in the comments if you agree, and if not, tell me what your favorite is and why you think it's better than this Coaltana, but I'm going to explain to you my logic right here. So, the most common thing you're going to get is probably going to be spiders and scorpions. However, scorpions are resistant to both fresh and spicy, which is not good because that's basically all of our weapons that we have here. So, we can exclude them and focus on the spiders and the praying mantis. This is slashing, which is effective against the praying mantis. It's spicy, which is effective against all spiders. So far, the orb weavers, the orb weaver juniors, the spiderlings, the wolf spider, and even the boss variant of the wolf spider are all weak to spicy. This is the only spicy weapon on this list besides the fire staff. And this means that this is going to deal a lot of damage to all of those. Now, close weapons that, obviously the Mantis Blade is going to be higher in terms of damage, so when fighting things with low health, this will be nice because you can 2-hit them. When fighting bigger things, it ultimately is not going to have that elemental bonus. It's not going to hold up. So then What really comes close is going to be most likely the Ice Sickle is going to be my close second, just because the next most common one that's going to be strong against things is going to be the the Fresh, and you can see against the Praying Mantis, it's double weak to this. Now, granted, it's not going to work as well on spiders, which is going to be not as good. However, slashing is just fine against spiders, so it'll still deal some damage, and it attacks a lot quicker, so its damage per second, I believe, is higher, especially if you have the right equipment. But overall, due to the bug typing weaknesses, I'm going to say the Coaltana is the best. Now, I know in the future they are going to be adding potentially a tarantula boss. That's what a lot of people have said is going to be upcoming. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard. If that's the case, I'm going to suspect, based on the patterns of all spiders being weak to spicy, it will probably still be weak to spicy, and this sword will still hold up against it. Now, other than that, I don't know exactly what's coming in terms of new bugs, new weapons, all of that stuff. But for now, the Coaltana is definitely the weapon to go to, which is why I believe it is the only weapon on this list that you can only currently get one of. The other ones, the Mantis Blade, you can make as many as you want. The Wolfsbane, you can make as many of you want. And the Ice Sickles, you can get 2 of. The Coaltana is the only one that you can get 1. So, like I said before, let me know in the comments if you agree with my selection. If not, let me know why. And then let me know if you want me to make any different videos for you, whether it's giving you the best armors, the best, the best strategies, the best base locations, you name it, let me know, and I will work on getting that out for you. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time.